The only way to survive this room is by entering the glass box before you. Pain will be incurred.
Number 20. Dena changes sides. Saw 3D. Strapped to the ceiling of an elaborate saw blade trap, there's not a whole lot Dena can do in this scenario, and yet she still manages to get herself killed. With her lovers Brad and Ryan pitted against each other below, all Dena has to do is get either one of them to kill the other so she'll be spared.
Brad! Brad! Brad, I love you!
I love you too, baby!
Do it! You gotta do it! You gotta kill him, Brad! Do it!
Once it seems like Brad has the upper hand, she professes her love for him. But when Ryan turns the tables, she immediately says the opposite.
You love him?
No!
Oh, you love him more than me?
No! I had to say that! I've always loved you! You gotta do it for me, please! You gotta kill him! Kill Brad! Do it!
By being so fickle with her so-called affections, she reveals her true nature. Had Dena simply picked one and stuck with him, she probably would have gotten a result. Instead, Brad and Ryan stop struggling and merely let her die.
I think we're breaking up with you, Dena.
Number 19. Failing to retrieve an antidote. Saw 2.
Hello, Bobby. I want to play a game. For years, you have burned those around you with your lies, cons, and deceits. Now you'll have a chance to redeem yourself for the games you've played with others.
In the first sequel, Jigsaw traps a group of convicted felons in a house seeping with a deadly nerve agent. Their only hope is to collect a series of syringes and administer the antidote. Unfortunately, a lot of antidotes go unused, but no one arguably comes closer than Abby.
Right now, you going in there. I'll kill you where you stand.
Tasked with climbing inside a furnace to retrieve a pair of syringes, Abby manages to grab the first without incident. However, upon pulling on the second, he also yanks the chain it's attached to, shutting the door behind him and setting him ablaze. Had Abby merely taken stock of the setup, it would have been easy pickings. Heck, he could have even done the selfless thing by passing the syringes through the window. But nope. Number 18. Not shooting the killer. Spiral. The traps proved deadly for the cops in this movie, but Captain Garza could have prevented being put into one in the first place.
Hey, O'Brien,
Yeah, boss.
you seen Zeke?
No, not for a while.
Hey, I'm heading down to cold case.
Copy that, Captain.
While most of the cops are distracted elsewhere, Garza gets lured into the evidence locker at the precinct. Once there, however, she's immediately greeted by the killer in a pig mask. Garza has the wherewithal to pull her gun and then not shoot.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
Instead, she tries to go out a locked door and call for coworkers who already aren't there. This allows the killer to knock her out with smoke grenades.
Hello, Captain Garza. I want to play a game. You have covered up corruption in your department, never sticking your neck out for the innocent. Now, the cover-up will be on you.
Granted, her subsequent task of having to sever her spinal cord is a tough one, but she could have avoided having it in the first place. Instead, she gets the hot wax. Number 17. Denying John coverage. Saw 6. To think all the misery of the entire series could have been avoided if not for bad health insurance.
I've found a treatment for my cancer that I think holds a lot of promise. But my requests for coverage have all been turned down.
In a flashback, we learn John Kramer might have found an effective treatment for his debilitating cancer. However, he was kept from pursuing it by William Easton and his unfeeling insurance policies.
You think it's the living that will have ultimate judgment over you, because the dead will have no claim over your soul.
Sure, William was just following the numbers, but he inadvertently led John to become one of the worst serial killers of all time. Flash forward to several years later, and William's placed in his own game, whereby his fate is decided by the grieving family of another man he'd loopholed out of existence. Naturally, he's given little mercy and instead injected with hydrofluoric acid.
Now you burn in hell.
Number 16. Not identifying the needle. Jigsaw. We can understand the people in this game being in denial about the lives they inadvertently took, but when it comes to their own lives, it should be an easy choice.
Play the damn tape, Mitch.
Early on, the survivors are presented with 3 syringes, one filled with acid and another with the antidote to the poison in Carly's veins. They're each marked with a monetary value, with the antidotes being the exact amount Carly stole before letting your victim die of an asthma attack.
You just gotta pick a needle, Blondie.
Look, we get out of these things when you pick an antidote.
Or else we all die, Carly.
No, what if it's the acid? I won't.
All Carly has to do is administer it, but her inability to do so puts them at risk. Rather than let them all choke, Ryan plays it safe and injects Carly with all 3 syringes. The others are saved, but the acid kills Carly. Number 15. Leaning into Billy. Saw 4. Billy the puppet is already freaky enough, but to willingly get closer to it? That's something we wouldn't do under any circumstances.
Hello, Agent Perez, and welcome to the world that you have long studied. Your partner, Agent Stroud, will soon take the life of an innocent man. Heed my warning, Agent Perez. Your next move is critical.
While investigating a trap at a school, FBI agent Lindsay Perez comes across Billy with a tape recorder around its neck. The recording addresses her, meaning her life is already in danger. Instead of getting a team to assess it, Agent Perez instead ignores its warning and draws closer to hear better, only for it to explode and send shrapnel into her face. Fortunately, Perez survives. For now. But this injury seems easily avoidable. Billy laughing at her is totally justified. Number 14. Gordon forgets the saw. Saw. Adam and Lawrence's confinement makes up the central tension of Saw, with the 2 men struggling to find a way out. Unfortunately, armed with little more than a bone saw and a one-way cell phone, the pair quickly find themselves devolving into panic. When Lawrence can't reach the phone later in the film, he naively gives up without trying other options. The fact he doesn't extend his reach with the saw is painful to watch, especially as he uses it elsewhere only seconds later. It's also unclear why Adam doesn't give this advice. Even if the saw somehow slipped their minds, it's similarly disheartening that Lawrence doesn't think to use his shirt to extend his reach before employing it as a tourniquet.
Lawrence! Stop it!
Number 13. Firing the gun. Jigsaw.
Now, if you want to achieve your freedom, you have to learn. You have to realize that you've been doing it backwards.
As twisted and hypocritical as Jigsaw is, he doesn't technically condone violence. So why Anna would think winning the game means killing Ryan is beyond us.
Is your key to freedom.
At the end of the movie, Jigsaw greets the final 2 contestants, presenting a shotgun and calling it the key to their freedom. Of course, Anna fails to take this literally and intends to use it on Ryan.
My only key to freedom is to kill you.
Ryan pleads for his life, and just as he figures it out, Anna fires. Unfortunately for her, the gun backfires, killing her instantly. Ryan's intuition is proven correct, as the literal key to their shackles was in the shotgun shell, now destroyed. Not only does Anna get herself killed, but she dooms Ryan by leaving him helpless. Number 12. Making her own rules. Saw 3.
Amanda Lynn is more important than you know. Unlock her collar and let her go.
I said no.
As many accomplices as Jigsaw has, few of them actually adopt his penchant for fair play. Case in point, Amanda Young, who only has herself to blame for where she ends up. Whereas John always gives his victims the ability to escape, Amanda sets up impossible traps for the likes of Troy and Carrie. This prompts her to be once again tested by John. Only this time, she isn't as fortunate.
Why is she so important to you?
She's not important to me. She's important to you.
She's not important to me.
I beg you to reconsider that.
While she's technically being blackmailed by Mark Hoffman, Amanda nevertheless allows her insecurities to get the better of her and shoots Lynn Denlin. Little does she know, Jeff is Lynn's husband and arrives in time to return the favor. You reap what you sow in these movies.
Game over.
Number 11. Going Rogue. Saw 2. Much like Amanda's, Detective Matthews' test is simply to resist his baser impulses.
Tell me where he is.
He's in a safe place.
When his team tracks down John Kramer, they learn a game is being played elsewhere, with Matthew's son Daniel being one of the contestants.
I only want to talk to you. Everyone else must leave. Those are my conditions.
No. It's a crime scene. Nobody leaves.
They don't have to leave the building. They just have to leave this area. Long enough for me to talk to you. If you agree to that, then you will see your son again.
In exchange for Daniel's safety, all Matthews has to do is sit still and talk to John, as much as he wants to beat the information out of him. Unfortunately, this is exactly what Matthews does, as John feigns willingness to bring him to Daniel. Meanwhile, the others discover that not only is the game not live, but Daniel has been stable in a literal safe just feet away the entire time. Instead of his son, Matthews finds a cell for himself, which leads to his eventual demise.
Game over.
Number 10. Ryan opens a door marked No Exit. Jigsaw. Ryan is sealed with Mitch and Anna in one of Jigsaw's trap buildings.
Oh God. Who's doing this to us?
I have no idea.
He tries to use an exit to get out early and ends up catching his leg in an intricate wire setup. While trying to open a door isn't inherently a bad idea, Ryan's choice to open one marked No Exit is questionable at best.
No! For real, you don't think he's trying to tell us something?
This is particularly upsetting considering that by this point, Ryan is already well aware of how lethal Jigsaw's games are. His failure to remind Anna about the literal nature of these traps are what ultimately seals his fate. But his failure to follow basic directions remains more frustrating. Jigsaw's punishments are all about teaching people, and Ryan demonstrates the pitfalls of learning nothing. Number 9. Never working together. Saw 5.
In choosing how to react to this situation, your lifelong instincts will tell you to do one thing, but I implore you to do the opposite. Let the games begin.
5 people are tested with a series of traps in Saw 5. Unfortunately, each person fends for themselves when they're tethered together, rather than attempting to use one key to free everyone. They bizarrely miss the fact that another's room's safe zones can hold multiple people, which needlessly diminishes their numbers further.
Better luck next time, rich boy.
In the end, these thoughtless moves simply mean that their final trials involving shocks and violent sacrifices are all the more severe.
So one person can fill the beaker with 10 pints of blood and die, or 2 people can fill it with 5 pints.
All this stumbling is even less excusable since Jigsaw tells them from the start that they're specifically being punished for selfish actions. The whole set of traps is surprisingly easy in retrospect, if only these victims had actually worked together on each one.
You're a monster!
So are you.
We both deserve to be here.
Number 8. Jeff gloats and takes too long. Saw 3. The vengeful Jeff is forced into a series of traps that revolve around the death of his son and the ensuing court case. He initially hesitates to help the people he blames for the outcome.
You've got to help him, Jeff!
While these mixed emotions make sense, his inevitable shift to help everyone renders his delays frustratingly counterproductive. Jeff's angry shaming of each person is also stupidly wasteful given how dire their situations are already.
Help me!
By taking so long, most people are beyond saving by the time Jeff decides to help. All his bumbling decision-making ultimately hurts him the most and cements his trials as being among the franchise's most difficult to watch. Number 7. Rig gets too eager. Saw 4. By the time Officer Rig became a protagonist in Saw 4, he'd already played a supporting role against Jigsaw in 2 previous films. Jigsaw tested him in this installment by telling him that his need to save others went too far.
But with your survival came your obsession. Obsession to stop those around you from making the wrong choices, thus preventing you from making the right ones. You wanted to save everyone. Tonight, I give you the opportunity to face your obsession.
Regardless of these warnings, Rig rushed to Brenda's aid, and wouldn't you know it, he wound up setting off otherwise avoidable timers.
What is that? What did you do?
Given Jigsaw's hints, you'd think he could have looked around first and discovered the trap before touching things. Rig had already led his fellow policeman to harm in Saw 2 by being rash, and yet still ran hastily into his final test 2 movies later. Number 6. Framing Jigsaw. Saw 5. Credit where credit's due. Mark Hoffman is pretty good at being Jigsaw, but he could have avoided getting sucked into that world and a lot of hurt had he made better choices.
Right now, you're feeling helpless. This is the same helplessness you bestowed onto others. But now, it's unto you. Some call this karma. I call it justice.
Before the events of the films, Hoffman's sister is murdered by her boyfriend Seth, who's eventually set free on a technicality. Craving retribution, Hoffman designs a Jigsaw-esque trap. Only Seth maiming himself doesn't result in his freedom as the pendulum finishes him off.
Now you can arrest me, but doing so, your life ends as you know it. Or you could explore a method of rehabilitation that'll permit you to sleep at night.
We get Hoffman not wanting to seem like a suspect in Seth's murder, but he could have gone about it in a much less elaborate way. Instead, he gains the real Jigsaw killer's attention, who blackmails him into participating full-time, which eventually leads to Hoffman's own retribution.
No!
Game over.
No!
Number 5. Gus looks through the peephole. Saw 2. In this gory sequel, a group of strangers wake up in a room and soon learn that they've been poisoned.
Right now, you are breathing in a deadly nerve agent. You've been breathing it since you arrived here. Those of you familiar with the Tokyo subway attacks will know its devastating effects on the human body.
Understandably distraught and driven by panic, Xavier commits to using a key on the door, despite a note telling them explicitly not to.
No, that's not a good idea.
So what are we gonna do, huh? Sit here?
This idea is already risky considering the warning, but Gus putting his eye to the peephole simultaneously is downright stupid. All the previous mentions of noises behind the door only serve to prove how little Gus listens. Though Xavier triggers this trap, Gus's plan to back him up is the mistake that arguably backfired worst of all. Number 4. Killing Jigsaw. Saw 3.
Killing me will only add to your misery. It will not bring back your son. Think of your daughter, Jeff. She needs you now more than ever. You can't kill me, Jeff.
The decision is ill-advised for a few reasons. For one, killing off the franchise's biggest star pigeonholed the writers into relying on flashbacks to bring him back for the sequels. But it also has disastrous consequences for the perpetrator, Jeff Denlin.
It's up to you.
Me too.
Live or die, Jeff. Make our choice.
Despite his entire game testing his ability to forgive those involved with the accidental death of his son, Jeff still thinks it's a good idea to exact revenge on Jigsaw. Killing John directly activates the collar around Lynn's neck, which promptly executes her. While his wife was already shot, Jeff effectively negates the possibility that she receives medical attention, or that he finds out where their daughter Corbett is. While Corbett is rescued, Jeff isn't so lucky. Number 3. Pretending to be a survivor. Saw 3D. If there's anything Mark Hoffman learned, it's not to fabricate any jigsaw traps. Unfortunately, it seems like Bobby Dagan could have used that memo.
You have amassed wealth, fame, and notoriety based upon your story of survival. Many have aided in your cause, but few know the truth. You are a liar.
Well, watching a survivor's story on TV, Bobby gets the idea to pretend having gone through a game himself and turn his story into fame and fortune. His plan works, but it also attracts the attention of, you guessed it, Jigsaw.
History is a passion for me. In ancient Egypt, if you were speaking under oath, you were required to say, "If I'm lying, take me to the quarries." That mean anything to you?
As a result, Bobby is put into a game for real, wherein his conspiring publicist, lawyer, and manager are all killed. In the end, he's tasked with completing the trap he supposedly survived in order to save his wife, the only person close to him who didn't know the truth. He fails, and she burns alive in front of him. Number 2. Peter Doesn't Listen. Saw 5. Peter Strom chases down Jigsaw for some time, and even survives a trap in his search for the truth. When he finds a glass coffin sitting in a room, he starts playing a tape that gives a compelling argument to get in.
The only way to survive this room is by entering the glass box before you. Pain will be incurred, but you have a chance of survival.
Peter stops the tape mid-sentence to hide, however, and forces the sinister Detective Hoffman into the case. By acting without all the information, Peter dooms himself to the closing walls of the room. The fact that he doesn't finish the tape before using the trap is truly disappointing.
I ask you, Special Agent Strong, have you learned enough to trust me?
Regardless of Peter's understandable mistrust of Hoffman, he sadly loses his game because he can't follow instructions.
I know who you are! I know!
Number 1. Addison puts both hands in the box. Saw 2.
What is this, house arrest? We in jail?
Nah, this ain't jail, man.
Yeah, you done a lot of time?
Yeah, too much.
From the start of her imprisonment in Saw 2, Addison maintains a level-headed attitude to exploring the house. After being weakened by poison for hours, she finds a box with an antidote in it. However, she ignores a mini cassette, then accidentally spills a liquid from the syringe. With her one hand caught in blades, it's unclear why she doesn't try to free herself with the other one. Her decision to put another hand in the box is foolish to the point of being fatal. We get that Addison is dazed, but her approach to one of the series' easiest puzzles is agonizingly bad. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.